Thanks, Rachel. Good afternoon. Welcome to this meeting of Barrow Borough Council's Licensing Regulatory Committee. My name is Councillor Tony Callister and I am Chair of the Licensing Regulatory Committee. This is the first virtual Licensing Regulatory Committee to be conducted by the Council, so please do bear with us. Officers and members have done some training on it, so hopefully it will go through reasonably well this afternoon. May I first of all remind you of some domestic arrangements. It is important that all participants conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. Please put your mobile phone on silent. Participants must ensure their microphones are muted throughout the meeting. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand via the raise hand facility in Zoom and only unmute your microphone when invited to speak. Please do not interrupt other speakers. Members are reminded that they should not have alternative communication lines open, i.e. other Skype chats. And if you are connected by a third party during the application, you should bring this to my attention as soon as possible. If members do lose connection to the meeting, we will adjourn for 10 minutes to assist them in reconnecting. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being broadcast live to the Council's YouTube channel. The whole of the meeting will be recorded, except where are confidentials or exempt items. To vote on matters, I will ask the Democratic Services Officer to manage this process. At this point, members will be requested to unmute their microphones. After a brief pause, a mover and a seconder will be requested and a roll call of members will be undertaken. Please reply with, I vote for, against, abstain, then remute your microphone. That's the formalities, everybody. Let's proceed with today's business. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence, so I'll hand over to the Democratic Services Officer to do a roll call of members and officers present at the meeting.
Thanks, Chair. Can I confirm attendance, please? Councillor Callister.
Present.
Councillor Aswad.
Present.
Councillor Barlow.
Yes, present.
Councillor Biggins. Councillor Biggins.
Present.
Councillor Gorn.
Present.
Councillor Hall.
Present.
Councillor McEwen.
Present.
Councillor McLeavy.
Present.
Councillor McClure.
Present.
Councillor Maddox.
Present.
And officers, we've got Debbie Starr, Head of Legal and Governance.
Present.
Jane Holden, Principal Legal Officer.
Present.
Ivor Churcher, Commercial Team Leader. Ivor Churcher. I can see you, Ivor, can't hear you. Okay.
Present.
Catherine Benson, Licensing Officer.
Present.
And that's everybody. I haven't got any apologies off anybody if anybody has got any to submit.
Thank you very much. So I'll go back to the agenda, part 1. Number 2, urgent items. To note any items which the Chairman considers to be of an urgent nature. Number 3, delegations. To receive notice from members who may wish to move any delegated matter non-delegated and which will be decided by a majority of members present. and voting at the meeting. Number 4, admission of public and press. To consider whether the public and press should be excluded from the meeting during consideration of any items on the agenda. We are live, as a reminder, on YouTube. Number 5, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations by members and or co-optees of interest in respect of items on this agenda. Members are reminded that in accordance with the revised code of conduct, they are required to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or other registrable interests which have not already been declared in the Council's Register of Interests. It is a criminal offence not to declare a disclosable pecuniary interest either in the register or at the meeting. Members may, however, also decide, in the interest of clarity and transparency, to declare at this point in the meeting any such disclosable pecuniary interests which they already have declared in the register, as well as any other registrable or other interests.
There's no hands up, Chair.
Thank you. Number 6, confirmation of minutes. To confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of March 2020. Could I have a proposer and a seconder, please?
I'll propose it.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, has that been noted? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me, Chair. Councillor McEwan's got his hand up.
Thank
Yes,
you, Chair.
Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I did. Don't know if it was recognised before on the interest. I'm declaring an interest on anything to do with County Council because I think there might be some highways in here later on. So I don't know. I'm just declaring it. Maybe Councillor Gowan might have to do it as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you better put me down as well for that.
Thank you very much. Okay, number 7, public participation. 1, questions and representations. To receive any questions or representations which have been received from members of the public.
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Number 2, deputations and petitions. To receive any deputations or petitions which have been received from members of the public.
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Number 8, terms of reference. To note the revised terms of reference for the Licensing Regulatory Committee and Licensing Committee.
This is just to note, Chair, it came to full council on the 16th of June. The terms of reference have just been updated slightly, and the introduction of a new subcommittee for licensing regulatory to deal with some of the functions of the committee. But it's just good practice for the committee to note its new terms of reference.
Thank you very much there.
Chair, Councillor McEwan's got his hand up.
Councillor McEwan.
I couldn't have taken it down. Very sorry.
Okay, thank you. Happy to move on. For decision, agenda item 9, Business and Planning Act 2020 pavement licences, to seek approval that delegated authority be sought from full council for pavement licences under the Business and Planning Act. Can I call on the commercial team leader, please?
I think I may be introducing this, Councillor Callister, and
Thank you.
then the team leader coming in if to answer any operational matters. Just to confirm, the Act was actually introduced yesterday, so it was the 22nd of July when the Act was implemented with immediate effect. And this paper is really just bringing to the attention of your committee the new Act, which has come through very quickly, the Business and Planning Act, and gives district authorities the responsibility for receiving and processing licence applications with regards to pavement licences. The delegations in the existing constitution need to be revisited and revised, and this report is advising of a paper that's going to the Executive Committee next week and also to full council to put in place the regulatory decision making. But in the meantime, officers are using urgent powers if there's a need to issue decisions earlier than that. The recommendation is to note the fee which is being charged for payment licences, which has been approved through officers' delegations, to note the use of emergency decision-making powers by the protection manager in consultation to determine application from the inception of the Act, which has taken effect immediately, and to note that the delegations are being sought to be incorporated into the Public Protections Manager's delegations from Council, and reference to pavement licensing is being incorporated into the Licensing Regulatory Committee delegations, again a decision of full Council. The Act contains measures intended by government to assist businesses and communities to recover from the economic dislocations caused by the pandemic, hence this fast-track procedure for pavement licenses. There is an electronic application process and a very quick turnaround in terms of the fact that it provides for a 7-day consultation period, starting with the day after an application is received. And then after 7 days after that, then the council must make a determination. If the application is not determined within that time limit, then the application is deemed to be granted. So there is an emphasis to ensure that the appropriate determinations are made. And procedures are being put in place to ensure appropriate consultation with the Highway Authority and other agencies within this time period. The Act has provided for 2 statutory conditions, mandatory conditions. One relates to ensuring appropriate accessibility to the highways for those that may be disabled or have, ensuring appropriate accessibilities. And the other is to ensure provision for a non-smoking area if smoking areas are permitted. That was a late amendment to the Act which came in just this week. Again, under the Act, there is no statutory right of an appeal against a refusal to introduce a licence or to revoke a licence, but guidance is suggesting that there should be a right of review within council procedures. And you'll note within the report that for this, we are proposing that there is a subcommittee of the Licensing Committee which deals with any reviews of non-grant or revocation process, and that's the final recommendation on the paper, to seek council's approval to that subcommittee being established. Hopefully the report itself is fairly self-explanatory, but if there are any questions, then clearly the officers are here to help answer those.
Thank you very much. Would any of the members like to ask any questions, please? We've got
Councillor McEwen, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've what's going forward here. It's not a question really, it's a comment. I mean, myself, I've been out many a time with the blind people, the society, and I think our lack of contact with the society is very poor. Because if anybody's been out with the glasses on when street furniture is already on the streets, it's very hard for them. So and now we're going to have more and more street furniture going out because of the COVID thing, and rightly so, because they need to make their money. I can understand that, but I just hope that they contact the Blind Society to make sure, because our pavements in our town centre are not coped for outdoor stuff like that, and it can be very congestive as it is. So I just hope that takes place. Thank you, Chair.
I think that's a very valid point there, Councillor McEwen, and I thank you for bringing that point up, and I'm quite sure that we can communicate that to the relevant authorities or groups within our locality. I presume that will be a formality moving forward. Mrs. Starr, is that correct?
Yes, Graham's joined us at a very timely moment. I believe he's talking with disability groups in terms of how we introduce the pavement licences, but maybe Graham can just confirm that for the meeting.
Yes, Chair, we're going to establish links with the Barrow and District Disability Association. We've used those, used the association for assisting our taxi drivers trade, actually, for giving them advice on disabilities. So that's probably a timely and a suitable method of contacting that community. And we've got electronic links with those to help speed the process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm noticing we've got Councillor Hall, Councillor Gaughan, who wish to speak. Councillor Hall?
Yeah, I could have actually, when the government said that the maximum fee would be £100, I could guarantee that the borough officers would have a fee of £100 and they would be able to justify it in exactly the same way as they tried to justify it for the Soapbox Derby, where 300 odd quid was charged. And the makeup of this will, there's £68 loss in every single thing. will be the usual, oh, there's a HR element, there's the upkeep of the town hall element, etc. The whole purpose of these licenses is to help businesses that are struggling. Now, yes, there needs to be a fee, but I would much prefer it was a token fee, not the maximum that was permitted by legislation. You could have written it that we would come in with the maximum. So I would propose we actually have a lower fee than this.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Hall. I'll bring Councillor Gorn in next and then Councillor Barlow.
It was just to carry on with what Graham said. They contact the BDDA, but they don't contact the disability, the shop mobility, which rents the scooter out. They will have a similar problem as well as the blind people. So I hope you're going to contact them.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gorn. Councillor Barlow?
Yes, I think I better declare an interest in it's been brought into the meeting with regard to the BDDA, seeing that I'm the on-treasurer there. I agree with what Bill was saying about the Blind Society, because they both took in an exercise with the Blind Society up and down Dalton Road, wearing particular glasses so you couldn't see where you were going. So I should imagine if they've, I hope all the precautions are taken for people using the outside of their premises, and it doesn't interfere with the people with bad visibility and other disabilities as well.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Barlow. Noted. I've got Councillor McCleavey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm afraid I have to concur with Councillor Hall. I could have guaranteed it would have been £100. But even more than that, it's a bit upsetting as far as, you know, we've had 3-4 months lockdown. These businesses have not been earning money. And to all of a sudden ask to £100 to put tables and chairs out in the street, I think is it's a bit too much. A token gesture of maybe £20 I could have gone with, but £100 would not get my vote. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor, thank you. Councillor Seward.
Yes, I was just wondering, in view of what's going to happen, will there be any additional cleaning of the streets when we have all these tables and dining out front? Because I know walking down Dalton Road sometimes, you know, litter and scraps of food are left around and the seagulls come and it can be quite a mess, to be honest.
Okay, thanks. Would one of the officers like to answer Councillor Seward's question there? Thank you, Graham.
Chair, yeah, on just on the street cleaning matter, it's condition of licence that they not only keep their own area clean, but they also keep an area of up to 10 metres beyond their premises, and the licence conditions are framed up in such a way that they shouldn't be out there causing a nuisance to their neighbouring businesses. The licence conditions have been shared around the county to reflect the similar conditions that are going to be employed in South Lakes and Copeland and beyond, but certainly on litter, that's one of the I think most reasonable conditions in the suite of conditions there to enable businesses, enable us to enforce that condition. They've got quite strict conditions on cleaning up. And Chair, if I could just go back, it was the Barrow and District Disability Association and not the Blind Association. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor McClure next and then Councillor Hall.
Hiya, I was just interested to ask, have many businesses actually applied for this licence at all since they've been allowed to open?
Chair, the Act only came in yesterday. Our website will go live this afternoon to accept applications. So we have an indication from Barrow Bid. I think they have offered assistance to town centre businesses, but and they'd indicated about 5 or 6 businesses that had shown some interest. But as soon as we're off licensing regulatory this afternoon, our website will probably go live with the latest information, application forms and process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, it's just an observation. It's a pity we can't retrospectively make the food takeaway places on Dalton Road, etc., pick up the litter and keep their areas clean, because that's the biggest issue we've got.
Councillor McEwen.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I take on board what Councillor Hall said about the money and the £100 and so, and how they've suffered it in the past 3 months. But somebody might put me right, or maybe I am wrong. Has small businesses or businesses not had grants put towards them that they could claim for to help put stuff like this out on the street? I might be wrong. I'm just looking for any assistance on that, please. Thank you.
Mr. Barker, could you answer Councillor McEwen's
No,
question?
no, I can't. Sorry, I'm not aware. Thank you.
Okay. Looks like I've got a hand up. Is Councillor Wall? Could you unmute yourself, please, Councillor Wall?
People don't often say that to me. Just on the situation of the money again, on most licensing issues, we have to not cost tax. We have to cover what it costs to license things by charging fees, don't we? With sex shops and zoo and everything. So, does that apply with this new? Do we have to cover what it would cost us to allow people, give people this license? Am I making that clear? You look a bit puzzled.
Mr. Barker, would you like to come in?
Yeah, so I picked up on the early conversation around the maximum fee being £100. We have calculated it above that amount using the same methodology that we use against all our licensing fees. So if that calculation had come in under £100, then we could obviously offer it at that. I don't know if that helps, Councillor Watson.
Well, yeah, I mean, we certainly couldn't get away with charging people 25 quid or something, could we? Because we are obliged, are we not, statutorily obliged to cover the costs of licensing when we charge people a fee.
Where we can recover the costs, but with this and with other licensees, with this one it's capped, so we can only cover.
Yeah, we can only cover up to that. I see. Yeah, thank you.
Just before I bring Councillor Hall and Councillor McClure in, just a question from myself, Mr. Barker. So I presume the administration of these licences would be well above £100.
It's not well above, Chair.
But it is.
But it is, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Hall?
It's just the methodology of how they calculate it, Chair. I just don't believe that it's a true cost. And that was shown to us with the Soapbox Derby stuff. You actually had in the breakdown in that, you had some like 14% was down to HR time and training and the upkeep of the town hall, etc. You can fiddle these figures anyway. The fact is, I think as a council, we're obliged, we want to help small businesses. They've had a real nightmare. And if we can do a little bit to help them, then great. There's a couple of places, there's one little cafe, he'll be able to have 2 tables maximum outside. Not worth him putting in for £100. He never make the money back. So I believe that we're not bound by law to charge £100. We knew it'd be £100 on our side, and I believe as a gesture and as an assistance by the council to these small businesses that we should have a lower fee.
Okay, it's very noted there, Councillor Hall. Before I bring Councillor McClure and Councillor McCleave in, I'd just like to say, as a group of people across the chamber, we want to help our small businesses. And I would make reference to, I'm quite positive that there'll be no fiddling of figures within any of the departments in the town hall. Councillor McClure?
Yeah, it was just a question for Graham. There are businesses that already offer this provision to the town, and I just wondered how things have altered since the legislation was brought in yesterday for those people.
Yeah, so Councillor McClure, they are still able to operate under their existing licences granted by the county council, but for some of those premises, it won't go far enough. So they may be able to increase their area or increase their times. And if that's a business model that a local business wants to follow, then of course they can come to us for this fast track route to get a payment license in the short term. This is a temporary license, only up until next September, but they can continue to use their existing one. Should they so wish.
Okay, Councillor McCleavey.
Thank you, Chair. I was really going to reflect again Councillor Hall's comments, but I think at this point in time and the situation we've been in, a little compassion wouldn't go too far amiss. We want to get people back into the town. We want to make these businesses succeed. A bit of compassion and a minimum charge, I think.
Okay, just on the protocols then, I presume we would need a proposer and a seconder for Councillor Hall's proposal to change the dynamic of the...
If I may say, just come in there, Chair. The fees have been set under officers' delegated powers. I think if there is a move for the committee to feed back to the officers, it would be the management team, then they could move, I suppose, a motion to feed back that they would prefer to see or ask them to review the fees, or it's entirely up to yourselves, but the decision was an officer delegated decision. And as you know, the Act comes live today.
Councillor McLeavy.
Oh, sorry, I haven't not put my hand down. I would say, from my point of view, I think there's far too many delegations, but that's my opinion.
Councillor Gone.
Can I pick up on something that Graham said? At present, the licences are issued by the county. Is that right? And are we taking over from the county on these licences?
No, this is a very temporary measure. So this act came into force yesterday, and the provision of pavement licences is only up until next September, the end of next September, so September 2021. This is a temporary fast track method for businesses to get their, to enable them to use that front space in front of the properties. As I understand, it's a protracted consultation process under the existing or previous system under the highways. This is a fast track process to get businesses up and running again. Thank you, Chair.
So do we know how much the county were charging for this previously?
Chair, I do. I'm just looking for it now. It's certainly over £100.
Okay, does that answer your question, Councillor Gone?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
Yeah, it's just that the fact is this law came in yesterday, was it? Yeah, it's been delegated, but the officers' delegation has basically meant that the councillors, and where the people are accountable, don't have a democratic say in this. Now, to me, we should be able to put in that if, a proposal that the fee be set at £20 to £25 and that be voted on in this meeting. Because otherwise you're saying is, well, actually, it's delegated to the officers. You can say to the officers, have a look again, and the officers come back and say, well, we've looked again, but we're keeping it as it is. Where is the accountability of councillors in this? And to me, it's a democracy being taken away from the councillors.
Okay, noted there. Would you like to come in, Mr. Stark?
I suppose just a comment that within the existing constitution, which has been there for, I think, a number of months, are that fees and charges are set by officers. But clearly that's something that can be reviewed and considered moving forward. And I understand that the Director of Finance is considering that through future, but the delegation is there at the present time. If members wanted to comment on the level of fees for reconsideration by the officers, then that's down to the committee to do so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chair, can I just reply on that? Sorry.
Yeah.
When we had the situation with the soapbox derby, we actually held a vote as to whether the councillors in the committee actually held a vote. It was a proposal put forward and seconded. It was lost in the meeting, but that's what actually happened. So, but now it appears things have moved on and we don't even get to do that.
Okay, at this point, obviously, I'd like to interject. Are we in a situation where we can take a form of vote on this then, Mrs. Storr, regards what the individuals here say as a nominal fee, but that nominal fee will need to be published now or said now what it is. Is that correct? Can we move on that?
The applications are going live today, so clearly we would need to know today what the fees are to be charged so that they'll go on the website with the information this afternoon.
Exactly. So I'm saying that if we put forward a proposal, it can be voted on, and it's then the will of the councillors.
But it's not, well, I suppose it's an officer delegated decision, so I'd need to take some further soundings with the management team about that, but I can take the views of the members back.
Well, on that basis, I would like to propose that the fee be reduced to £20.
I would second that.
So we have a proposal there, and that proposal can be voted on in this meeting to be taken forward.
That proposal can be voted on to go back to the management team if that's the proposal of the meeting that they would wish management team to consider.
I mean, coming in and I share your frustrations, councillors, maybe on this one, but I'm also mindful to think that the £100, and on looking at it, in fairness, it was like, okay, that's the set amount. The actual amount is above £100 for our officers to actually administrate this licence. Bearing in mind that the officers now are working under severe financial pressures, and it is the government that has given us this allowance to be able to charge to cover all necessary costs without going into a profit margin. We are on this licence, we will be operating at a negative quite clearly. So therefore, to take it down to a nominal fee of £20 would be placing further strain on top of the town hall budget, which has already, as we know, been significantly cut over these last few years.
Councillor Gorm, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Gorm, then Councillor Maddox.
On page 2, 3.4, the last sentence is the Act makes provision for a maximum charge of £100, which has been adopted for these licences. Maximum.
No.
Chairman, would you find it helpful to adjourn for a short while just so we can take some further considerations?
I think it would be appropriate at this moment in time because there has been some legitimate questions and things put forward. So I think we probably need a little bit further clarification on where we can go.
10 minutes, is that enough, Debbie, or longer?
Can we say 20 minutes to see if I can get hold of Steph?
Yeah, so resume 2:50.
Is that okay, everybody?
Yeah. Live stream, pause it for the time being.
Okay, thanks everybody for giving us the opportunity there to seek further clarification. I know Mrs Starr now has brought in Sue Roberts, the Treasurer of the Borough Council. Debbie, would you like to take it from here?
Thank you. Just for the benefit of the Director of Resources, there's been some queries around from members in terms of the charging of the fee. The report to members was to note the fee that was being charged for applications for pavement licences, which was being set at the maximum discretionary limit, which was £100. And the report stipulated that this wasn't recovering all of the council's costs, but members have raised concerns in terms of the supporting the businesses and whether there's any discretion, further discretion. I mean, the charge is discretionary, so it's for the council to determine it, but the costs have been done on the presumption that we will seek, as far as possible, cost recovery for the application. And I think members, because it's an officer decision and because of the timing of it and the legislation coming into place today, they wanted some further comment from the management, but also they wanted to go further as well.
Okay,
thank you.
Comment now, and then if there's questions, I can take them. Is that okay, Chair?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, the actual cost has been calculated and is contained in the report. We are already recognising that it's going to cost the council more than the fee that we can charge. So the charge that is in the Act was decided upon because there is going to be that shortfall. We are carrying a number of shortfalls in funds that we can recover to meet the cost of COVID, and where this has been set in the Act, I don't see why we shouldn't take full advantage of that, because we are still going to have to carry a cost per application in any case. I don't know what the specific questions are. This has been set under delegation in line with the discretionary fees policy that we already have in place. So if there's specific questions, I'm happy to take those.
Okay, thank you very much there, Ms Roberts. I've noticed Councillor Hall.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is it was made under delegation authority, but from what we're basically being told is that councillors have no right to actually challenge what the delegated authorities do. We can say, oh, we don't think that's right, but surely it's the councillors that decide. If we decided what the delegated amount is wrong, then we should be able to vote on that. And the vote of the councillors is then the democracy. The officers are not responsible to the electorate, we are. Now, for the small number of businesses, we don't really know how many, the whole idea is we've proposed, and in fact, it's a formal motion, they're proposing a minimum fee. The total cost to the council is going to be less than a couple of the laptops we've bought, and it could make a real big difference to some small businesses. So can we vote for a reduced fee, or are we impotent as councillors?
The fee is set, councillor, and it's been set in line with the policy the council already has in place and a delegation that already exists and has been approved by members. If the delegation is not to be used, then it needs to be dealt with in a different way. I mean, the delegation would need to be changed. Delegation is in place, it's approved. Officers are operating under that, so we are approved by members in what we do.
So once something delegated has been delegated, this is new legislation coming, the councillors cannot alter it. The decision is made by the officers, who are totally unaccountable to the public and to the councillors by the sounds of it. Is that correct?
We are accountable. We can only act within the policies that have been agreed by members, and members have given officers that authority. So we are acting within the authority members have given us. We are accountable. We're accountable to members. We're accountable to the public. We're not able to act without that accountability. We are acting within what members have agreed we can do.
I want to interject there, Mr. Hart. I want to interject there. It's just I don't want to see any character assassinations on the department or anything like that. I am mindful. Yes, you have a point to put forward. We do operate with the officers do operate on a delegated authority, which has always been agreed by ourselves in the past. We do have a new policy that's caught us a little bit on the hop here, and to putting it mildly, it's costing more than the £100 to actually administrate this licence. I'm just wondering whether we can actually ask the officers with the delegated authority, could you adjust that fee slightly in the light of the discussions that we've had now? Does that fall within your remit to be able to do that? Could I put that to Mr. Barker?
Sorry, Chair. I would probably take direction from Sue on reducing the fee. Thank you, Chair.
I would say not, Chair. The question would be why and by how much and why that much. I think it's we're already recognising there's a shortfall in the fee we're charging. It would have to be well, I can't see how. Do you know what I mean? There's a basis for calculating these things. We've done that. We're not able to apply that charge. Therefore, we've capped it at the amount we're able to charge under the Act.
Okay, so just for clarification, so that we can move on. There is a situation where there is a proposal that we need to vote on, take a roll call on, but there's also a proposal that's come from Councillor Hall to reduce that. So therefore, a vote could be taken on that to move forward. If that is carried, that would then go back to the delegated officer to readjust that fee. Other than that, there's two options there. Is that workable to move forward?
I think, as Sue has indicated, the decision has already been taken.
Yeah.
But if the proposal was voted upon, then it would be a request to the decision maker to reconsider the fee in the light of the comments from the committee, but it would still be for the decision taker to take that decision.
Yeah. So ultimately, to place fairness amongst the members and somebody bringing a proposal to the table, that can be voted on. And if successful, it will be taken forward. And if not, and then we have the original decision to vote on. So that is a way to move forward.
Right, Chair, when you say wait for the recommendation on the table is to note the fee of £100 to be charged for the applications. I think the amendment is that it be fed back that members would wish to see the fee reduced to £20 or whatever figure that was.
And we can take a vote on that, a roll call on that. So that would need, Councillor Hall has proposed that, it would need a seconder, and we could take a roll call that it goes back for decision.
Chair, Councillor McEwan's got his hand up as well.
Yep, Councillor McEwan.
Thanks, Chair. So just for clarification here, but I would move that we go with the recommendation because it's already been put in. I would take what we note the recommendation and then it goes back. That's what they're saying here. I mean, because this goes to full council as well, doesn't it? But they want a decision here on this money situation. So I move the recommendation.
And I second it.
So for protocol here then, Mrs. Storr, we're now voting on the original recommendation. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry, the first motion on the table was a suggestion that officers be asked to reconsider that. So if that's put forward first, then that should be voted upon first and then go back to the substantive motions.
Which is what I said, yeah, a couple of minutes ago. So can we take a roll call? So if Councillor Hall proposes he has a seconder, we can take a roll call.
Councillor McLeavy seconded, Chair.
Right, okay, so we've got Councillor Hall, Councillor McLeavy seconded. Can we take a roll call on that, please?
Councillor Callister, please answer for, against or abstain.
Against.
Councillor Aswad.
Against.
Councillor Barlow.
Against.
Councillor Biggins.
Against.
Councillor Gorn.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor McEwan.
Against.
Councillor McLeavy.
For.
Councillor McClure.
For.
And Councillor Maddox.
Against.
So that's 6 against and
excuse me.
4. So that,
Councillor Wall.
oh, sorry, Councillor Wall.
Sorry, I was late to arrive. I'm against that.
So that's 7, so that's lost.
Okay,
So do you want
now,
to go to a vote for the substantive motion?
yes, please.
So was there a mover for that? I've got councillor McEwen,
Ewan, need a seconder, please.
I'll second it.
councillor
Councillor
Maddox.
Maddox.
So we'll take a roll call on the substantive motion, which councillor Callister,
For,
councillor Aswad,
For.
councillor Barlow, councillor Biggins,
For.
councillor Gorn, councillor Gorn,
Against.
councillor Hall,
Against.
councillor McEwen,
For.
councillor McLeavy,
Against.
councillor McClure,
Against.
councillor Maddox,
For.
and councillor Wall.
For.
So that's 7 for and 4 against, so that's carried.
thank
Thanks,
you very
Chair.
much. Thanks everybody for the patience with getting the decision on that. We move now to agenda item 10, licensing delegated decisions and enforcement, February to June 2020, and to consider the summary of decisions and enforcement activity. Mr. Barker.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just get the reports up now. As members will be aware that I regularly update Licensing Regulatory Committee on delegated decisions taken. This now covers from February to June and would normally be held on a monthly basis. The summary of the report is this summarises those decisions made under Part 3.2 of Section I of the Constitution, Scheme of Delegations to Officers. And it's a recommendation that the members consider the summary of decisions and enforcement activity. Chair, do you require me to read the full report?
Members, are we comfortable with the report? Have you briefed through it? Okay, I'm getting nods of approval, Graham. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Barker? Councillor McEwen.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Graham, for this. It's very interesting as always. At 3.2, where it says complaints, animal welfare at the top and down at the bottom, the zoo. Are these two related, or is that individual complaints, or is it one?
No, Councillor McEwen, that's two separate matters.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Graham.
There's no further questions. Can we take a roll call, please?
Just need a move and seconder, Tony.
Okay. Can I have a...
I move it, Chair.
Thank you. Seconder. Thank you.
And if there's no hands up, we can take that as affirmation of the meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So there's no questions.
Yeah.
That's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There being no part 2 items and no further business, thanks everybody for taking part today. Safe journey home. See you all soon.
Yeah, thanks, Tony.